Greetings, our Frederick Riddle here with another Christian news and views. This is episode 163, and this is Wednesday. And this report comes from the Ukraine. Russia unleashed its largest overnight drone attack in the war on Monday. I believe it was Monday morning, launching cruise and ballistic missiles as well in a barrage that lasted through the night and struck locations across Ukraine, even as Kiev and Moscow began a days-long prisoner exchange involving hundreds of soldiers. Now, let me just pause there. I'm going to throw a little opinion in here. I think the fact that they're exchanging prisoners, that's a good thing, a good sign. But to be attacking while that's taking place is not a good sign. So we have to take what we can get, I guess. But that is a good sign. Let's move on. Russian forces launched 479 self-detonating drones, of which 460 were shot down or deflected through electronic interference. Ukraine's Air Force said in a statement on social media. Well, by the way, let me pause again. 460 out of 479 were shot down or deflected. That means only 19 got through. That's pretty good, except for the fact that those 19 are devastating themselves. Ukraine's western Rivne region went through a very difficult night and suffered a powerful enemy airstrike. Alexandra Koval, head of the regional military administration, wrote on Telegram. One person was injured, he said. He did not provide further details. Monday's attack appeared to have caused less damage than one on Friday, which Kremlin officials said was in response to an audacious Ukrainian assault on air bases inside Russia earlier in the week. In Friday's bombardment, Russian drones and missiles hammered Kiev and cities in western Ukraine, causing extensive damage and injuring dozens. Monday's strike took place as Moscow's forces claimed to be advancing towards Ukraine's southeastern, I'm going to mess up this pronunciation, but I'll do my best, Dnipropetrovsk region, an area of the country that has been heavily bombarded, but so far has avoided ground fighting. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the offensive was in part an attempt to create a buffer zone. However, Andrei Kovalenko, head of the Ukrainian Military Center for Countering Disinformation, posted on Telegram that all information from the Russians, including Peskov's statements about their offensive on the Dnipropetrovsk region, is not true. And in the article, the word "not" is all caps. The Russian advance could represent a further intensification of Moscow's military pressure across the front line, which has now spread to Ukraine's northeastern Sumy region. In his regular evening address, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said Sunday that in some areas along the front lines, the situation is very difficult. Fighting is underway in the Donetsk, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions, he added. On Monday, Zelensky announced on Telegram the beginning of a prisoner exchange that would continue in several stages in the coming days. Zelensky said he could not divulge all details, but that the first group included those who were seriously wounded and under the age of 25. The process is quite complicated. There are many sensitive details. Negotiations continue virtually every day, Zelensky wrote. Here's my official opinion. The Russian spin on facts continues. I believe that the Russian attacks on Ukraine was already planned and ready to be launched, but then it became politically useful to claim it was in response to Ukraine's counterattack. Now, Ukraine is countering attack because of all the attacks that Russia is making, massive drone attacks. And so Ukraine responds with something, and I think there's going to be more responses from them. but the Russians don't get the hint, and they're suffering. You don't get this in the local news so much, but the Russian nation as a whole is suffering. But uh, they've lost a lot of military equipment and human lives. So people around the world, here in the United States, tend to forget that Russia is the invader, and the Ukrainians are simply trying to defend their country and their homes. So, with all this said, it's still true. The Russians, though, have become rather nervous. And you would too if you were in their shoes. The Ukrainian ability to reach deep within Russia is disturbing to the Russian leaders, including Putin. Now, he reacts in an angry way and threatening, and it's sort of the local bully, but he's got to be nervous. Not only is it politically and diplomatically troubling, it is also militarily embarrassing and harmful. And by harmful, I mentioned this earlier. They've lost tons of equipment. In the raid on the airfields, they lost airplanes, including apparently one of their spy planes, as well as some of their bombers. And so those planes that they use for launching their missiles and their drones. And so it's been rather expensive for them attack by the Ukrainians. Costs a lot of PR capital, public relations capital. Now, if I was President Putin, and I'm glad I'm not, but if I was, I would be looking in the mirror right about now and making sure my head's still attached. This has been a rather devastating week for them. And this counterattack that they made, or really is not counter, it's just a further part of their aggression, might sound good and they can put a lot of spin on it, but he knows the truth enough of it to be kind of worried. He might want to check the security of the Capitol just to be sure everything is safe and everything is, use an old term that puts me under my age, but hunky dory. I would think he would be extremely nervous about now. He's got generals who don't really report all the facts to him. At least that's what it seems like. And if that's true, it's hard for him to get a real feel for what's going on. But enough information has got to be getting through that he knows something's wrong. And it's getting very, very costly. His generals can cover things up only so long. And even here in the West, all sorts of government and private industries or groups are watching and paying attention to what's going on there, and they are all saying Russia they're being decimated. Literally, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They could stop this war anytime they want. If they were to recognize the fact that they're not going to ever control Ukraine, they might defeat Ukraine, but the Ukrainians will probably just melt into the woods, sort of like they did during World War II. Ukrainians, Romanians, and all others in that area, they melted into the forests, the mountains, and so forth, and struck the enemy. And that would happen again. But Putin doesn't seem to be getting that message, and maybe they're doing an effective job of shielding him from the truth. Only time will tell on that one. Well, have you been enjoying this series of episodes where I inform you of what's going on and providing you a Christian and conservative viewpoint? Well, if you do, I invite you to subscribe right about there. And when you test to TR Independent Books, that's my channel. Just subscribe to it. And that means that you're going to get access to my podcasts and so forth. But at the same time, you're encouraging me to continue on with what I'm doing, and and I personally, as a response to that, promise you that I'm going to do everything I can to inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. And that's my goal with every episode I do. But like I always say, that's my goal. You are the judge whether or not I achieve that goal or not. At least I hope I've provided you food for thought, food to think about, to chew upon, and hopefully comment on. And when you comment, I will see it, I will look at it, and I will comment back. Or I might say, you know what, this is good for a future episode. And so, go ahead. Just remember to be respectful. If you have facts that I don't have, then cite those facts, your sources, and so forth. Let me know, but keep it civil. I'm just trying to report to you the facts first of all, as they're reported, and secondly, as I see them and interpret them. And you are not required to agree with me at all. In fact, if you do disagree, I want to know about it and why. So feel free to comment. I hope this has been a good episode for you, productive one. And so I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. You have a great day.